Hello, this is Rico Cavaglia, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, your operations manual for your body and for your mind. And the topic of this session is inflammation, which is a very hot topic these days. And our expert is Sandy Starr. She is the author of Beyond Gluten, A Healing Transition. She specializes in functional nutrition and wellness with a focus on addressing the underlying triggers of inflammation by incorporating a comprehensive evaluation and laboratory testing as needed. Her primary focus is treating and preventing disease and dependency on pharmaceuticals. She incorporates naturopathic therapies, lifestyle, and nutritional counseling. So I want to welcome Sandy Starr.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thanks so much, Sandy. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. So it seems like everywhere you go these days, and all the doctors and healthcare practitioners are saying that inflammation is probably the #1 root cause of most illnesses these days. So this is a very important topic to know about, so you can take the very best care of your body and your mind. So let's just start by really given actually a good definition of, so what are we really talking about as far as inflammation?
Right. Okay. Well, I'll start with saying that inflammation is the root cause of at least 80% of diseases out there. And so that's why we definitely go and address inflammation. And so there's acute versus chronic inflammation. So acute inflammation is a good thing. So that's if like you get injured. So there's going to be like a vascular and a cellular response to heal that wound and to get the blood flow to the area that's needed to get that turnover and that healing. And so that's a good thing. But what happens sometimes with injuries or diet, lifestyle, all kinds of high stress, things like that, that can be a contributor, things become chronic. And so when you have chronic inflammation, that's when you have disease and disorders that happen in the body, because it will cause like degeneration in the body. And so that chronic is not a good thing. And that's what we see a lot out there going on, unfortunately. So that would be acute versus chronic.
Yeah, so talk a little bit more about the causes. Again, so our body dealing with any kind of a stress, whether it's nutritional or chemical or emotional, it secretes cortisol and all the different hormones and to do healing. But then if we're in chronic stress, it doesn't shut down, right? It's just, so we stay in that stage of inflammation.
Absolutely. So really some of the systemic inflammatory symptoms are like just being tired all the time. We see this a lot now. People are just tired all the time. The hormones are off, the body's imbalanced, brain fog, things like that, joint pain, constipation. There's so many symptoms from that. So that's kind of what we're seeing, a lot of like migraines, anxiety, depression. That is actually a response from chronic inflammation. And so we end up with disorders like diabetes, for example, right? Or the cortisol being high too much. That's the stress hormone. People gain weight, they become obese, right? Because their body's so off from that inflammation. And so we get heart disease, we get Alzheimer's, we get cancer. That's where the body just attacks itself. And what's really common nowadays is autoimmune, which is really unfortunate, but that's where the body gets confused and attacks itself, because it's been inflamed for so long, And so that's where we get a lot of those disorders, is just dealing with that chronic inflammation, neurological disorders, things like that. Yeah.
And so talk a little bit more about the root causes that causes the body to stay in this state of inflammation, like too much stress, lack of good nutrition.
Yeah. Okay.
Talk about some of those different things so people can really realize, why this is happening to them.
Right. So I would say with lifestyle triggers, it's stress, it's smoking, poor diet, lack of exercise, mindset that's always negative. So always being stressed out or looking at the glass half empty, right? I'm finding a lot in my practice, especially now during this time that we're in, is mindset is so important. And I mean, they've had proven studies that show, even with the placebo effect, that you, with your mind thinking that you're doing something good, your body's going to respond positively, right? Instead of negatively. So our body responds to our mindset. So that's a big one. Changing the GI health. So gut health is everything, right? That's where disease starts, and that's where healing starts. And so when I see people working, when I'm working on the gut health, which is where I always go first, is when that's off, that will systemically affect the body and cause that chronic inflammation. And so if you don't have good gut health, and by that I mean good microbiome, good diversity in the bacteria, you need a diverse microbiome. And a lot of people don't, which is what I see on the labs I do. And what that will cause is actually like genetic diseases, things like that. So it all kind of ties together, but lifestyle definitely, that plays a huge role in that. Vitamin D deficiencies, even nutrient deficiencies can cause inflammation, right? And then also when we look at our diet, we're eating a lot of refined foods, right? Simple carbs, really colorless, empty calorie foods for the most part. And it's really about that 80-20 rule. At least 80% of the time, you want to be eating really good food, whole food, things that God put on this earth, right? Whole food that's real. We don't want to be doing diet anything. We don't want to do fake sugars or the bad fats, right? We want to eat really good fats. That's really, really helpful. In fact, omega-3 is really good for inflammation. It really is anti-inflammatory. We want to stay away from, sodas and, that kind of, the obvious, right? But then even some of the health food stuff can be loaded with sugar. And we know that sugar is very toxic, very addictive, and very inflammatory. Sugar actually feeds cancer cells. And sugar also can reduce your immune system by 40%. So when we're looking at immune integrity, we want to make sure we're being careful what we put in our body, especially when we're in a high stress time, right? In a time such as this, with a virus that we're really not sure about, we want to make sure our immune system is really strong and not triggering inflammation, right?
Yeah, I just want to add, isn't it interesting that all the things that we know that contribute to a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
good nutrition, good sleep, exercise, stress reduction, it's pretty much for any kind of ailment, that's really the recipe, isn't it? So it's so
Yeah.
important to actually develop your own personalized wellness program. And then a lot of the common ailments that we have will just disappear if you just get on a really healthy wellness program. And the other thing I mentioned to your point about how mindset, we do know that everything that manifests in our physical body begins in our mental emotional state, right? So I just like to always throw this out there is that, we hear so much about fake news these days on the nightly news. Well, that's not the fake news you really have to worry about. The fake news you have to worry about is those stories that we're telling ourselves about what our limitations are and what possible, and that's the fake news you got to watch out for, right?
Right. And I love that too, because what I teach my patients is to do posturing, to do affirmations, to talk out loud to yourself. And you set the day that way. That's your intentions. You set your intentions for the day. And the other thing I'll add is that always being in gratitude, right, is having a grateful heart and doing a gratitude journal. I actually started this, it's a home group, but it's a challenge to write 1,000 gifts, 1,000 things you're grateful for. So I'm up to a couple hundred, just started about 3 weeks ago.
That's so good.
And it's awesome. It just really opens your eyes to looking at the creation, the beauty around you, and the things that we're so lucky to have that are simple things, that some people in other countries don't have. So it's not taking things for granted, and just, self-love, self-talk is important, living in the present, not the past, and not worrying about the future, but doing the best you can today. That's just super important.
That's so good, so well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way you express that so well.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally agree. And again, your mental emotional state is the key where you always
Mm-hmm.
want to begin with. You know, some people just
Mm-hmm.
want to start taking supplements or getting some drugs or do something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really about
Yeah.
changing how you feel about your life again, because that's really what's going to affect how your body's functioning and your
Mm-hmm.
overall health. So that's so
Sure.
important.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Simplify.
So let's talk about now if someone is having, you know, some common ailments and we know that it's caused by excessive inflammation in the body. What do you do first? How do you work with them, and what are the things that you would recommend
Mhm.
people begin to start to do that are most important?
Sure. So honestly, it's really about finding out what those triggers are that are causing this, and also looking at. So I will say too that a lot of people are on a lot of medications, and what they don't realize is that there's deficiencies that happen in the body, and so we want to look at deficiencies as well in diet and even supplementing on a therapeutic level sometimes to get the body up to par. So some things just to get back to being simple, right? I would say removing toxins, and that includes environmental, that includes emotional, that includes food, that includes, you know, body care, all of that. Really important to remove those toxins and to really rebuild the body, work on gut health, and make sure there's no infections and things like that. So, you know, when you look at functional medicine, integrative medicine, all of that, you really have to figure out what that underlying current is that's going on and what's causing that. And until you do, you're always going to have the body focusing on trying to fix something that's going on. So that energy is in one place instead of being in homeostasis, right? Where you're balanced. So honestly, getting back to just simple, people know what to do for the most part, right? What I will say is not do what everybody else is doing, right? Do what makes sense for you. Even exercise, like you want to exercise, absolutely. And we need to detox, right? But what happens is some people go on these crazy exercise when they're chronically fatigued or they have autoimmune and the body's compromised from that. So you have to find that happy medium that works for you. And that's what I do when I work with somebody is find that happy place and build from there, right? Find that healing place and build from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much there that I want to point out. First of all, uh, it's true. The unfortunate thing about our standard allopathic medical system is they're mostly just treating the symptoms instead of the cause,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we so recommend that people, you know, consult with a practitioner like yourself or a naturopathic doctor,
Mm-hmm.
who as you mentioned, who can really begin to evaluate what the underlying causes, really what are the root
Yeah.
causes, and you want to eliminate the causes, not just the symptoms. So that's a really
Mm-hmm.
important point that we want to stress, as you were mentioning. And then just like you were saying too, people have to begin to realize to take responsibility, right, for their health.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just, it's not a cookie cutter type thing. We're all individually unique. So as you mentioned, like in exercise and nutrition, you have to
Mm-hmm.
get some help and develop
Mm-hmm.
what's going to work
Yeah,
for you, because we're all individual.
absolutely. And one thing I want to mention too is that, and this is why I work with people on pharmaceuticals, is that there's 3,200 prescriptions written every month in every pharmacy in the U.S. And people are on 5 or more medications. So you can imagine what's going on in the body trying to adapt to that and trying to get balance in that. And it's really difficult. So that's one area that we have to focus on, like what are the side effects, what am I deficient in because I'm taking these medications, and what pathways being blocked. And then lastly, I'll just say on that is, for example, on statins, if you're on a statin for cholesterol, that CoQ10 pathway is being blocked, and that is energy production, right? And so that's why you get a lot of side effects. So you've got to be taking CoQ10 if you're on a statin. And there's also natural statins like red yeast extract. So before you're on a statin, there's things to do with diet, exercise, lifestyle, and supplementation that don't have any side effects before you go on a statin. And there are times when you have to, if it's a hereditary thing or there's other things involved. But, you know, the first thing you don't do is go on a medication. You've got to figure out what's going on and try to get the body to heal itself, which is what it was created to do.
Yeah, so well said. Yeah, what I just want to add to that is that, yeah, you know, we've got things turned around in our medical system. You know,
Yeah.
drugs and surgery and some of these
Mhm.
things,
Yeah.
even radiation. That
Hmm.
should be that should be alternative medicine. Sometimes they're necessary. You know, you get
Yeah.
yourself in a certain state; those things are necessary.
Yes.
What you're talking
Hmm.
about and how you work with people,
Hmm. Right.
natural healing, that should be our mainstream medicine. And then
Mm.
our
Hmm.
what's allopathic should be that should be the alternative thing. And the thing
Hmm.
I want to
Yeah.
say about
Hmm.
medication that people is so important that you brought up, I'm glad you brought
Hmm.
that up, is because, you know, yeah, I think there's a statistic that the average person over 40 are taking 4 to 5 medications. And here's the thing, even though even how a drug company makes a test on a drug and say, well, this is fairly safe. Maybe they only killed a few people, right? This is fairly safe, but there's no one taking all these drugs together, combinations. So no one knows what the combination of all these
Yeah.
drugs can be, and what
Hmm.
toxic side effects
Yes.
and how much inflammation that it can create in your body.
Yeah. It's money driven, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
You
yes.
know, I'll be bold and say that. Right?
No,
Yeah.
we need this. This project's all about talking the truth and
Yes.
getting the mainstream. And even if it's
Hmm.
can be controversial, that's what we need to be. So we're trying to get the best information we possibly can to help people out.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, tell us a few.
Yeah.
I think it's good to tell us a few examples of some of your patients that you've dealt with,
Hmm.
and that you determined that inflammation was really their big problem,
Hmm.
so what certain ailments are really that you can work with that you've been really effective at helping them.
Okay. Um, Somebody comes to mind as a gentleman that I started working with, that was referred from an MD, to work with on cholesterol. But come to find out, he was also having knee pain, like joint pain in his knees. And I started working on his gut, got him on a good diet, lifestyle, all of that, cleaned some things up, so to speak, and got him off of gluten, because I will say gluten is extremely inflammatory in the US. It's hybridized, so it's not of nature.
Hmm.
And when he adjusted his diet, life, all of that, his joint pain went away, and he really became very balanced. And he was surprised, actually. He came in not understanding how the gut can be related to your knee, or could be related to cholesterol, or all of that. And so that was pretty cool to be able to really simply be able to make some adjustments and have that pain go away for him and have some other things balance out. So that's one example of many.
Yeah, I think the point here again is that uh, there's so many things that you can do and you can take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, and so many ailments that we have
Mm-hmm.
really respond to
Mm-hmm.
just getting the body back in balance. And the way we do that is like saying with healthy whole food, live food,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, sleep, and all the things that we know are
Yeah,
beneficial. So again,
absolutely.
we
Mm-hmm.
just encourage people to realize this and to
Mm-hmm.
become
Yeah.
proactive and
Mm-hmm.
consult with someone like yourself or some kind of a naturopathic doctor that can really get you on the right track. And so many ailments
Mm-hmm.
can be taken care of.
Yeah, and it can be as simple as making sure you drink your water. Drink a
Mhm.
clean water source. Drink half your ideal body weight in ounces a day. Water is just, it's good for metabolism. It lubricates your joints. It's good for your skin. It helps the cells kind of clean out. I mean, it does so much for us. And our GI depends on it, right? There's a lot of people out there constipated. And honestly, you got to increase the water, the fiber, reduce sugar. There's things, simple things you can do. But a lot of people forget about water. I actually had a walk and water challenge one time, and it was eye-opening for a lot of people, because they realized, oh my gosh, I don't drink that much water. So something as simple as that, right?
I kind of came up with this thing for my clients. I tell them,
Mm-hmm.
remember BDM. BDM stands for breathe more, drink more, and move more.
Yes.
If you
Mm-hmm.
just started doing those 3 things through your daily life, so many things would
Mm-hmm.
improve. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hmm. Yeah.
All right, so
And
tell us what would you recommend that people just on their own right now,
mhm,
uh, what would be like the three, maybe three or four things
mhm,
that would be we probably already covered, but let's really let people know that they can start to do right now today to not only reduce inflammation,
mhm,
but to just help them to feel
mhm.
better and improve their health.
Sure. I would say to really look at your diet and see what you're eating. Get it balanced, get back to whole food, reduce sugar, drink water, and move. For inflammation specifically, you want to have a diet with good omega. So eat salmon, walnuts, flax, hemp, chia. You could take an omega supplement. I've got some really good nutraceuticals for that. Um, to really reduce that inflammation. As simple as that, you know? Yeah.
It is quite so
Yeah.
simple.
Mhm.
So again, I want to recommend to all of our viewers, to stay connected to all of our experts and to Sandy because they have so much good information. They have so much good information on their websites. They have a lot of free
Mhm.
gifts to give you. They free reports and some things that can really help
Mhm.
you to get started. And I want to emphasize too that the reason coaching has become so
Mhm.
prevalent and so popular these days because it's well known that coaching is the surest and
Yeah.
fastest way to achieve your goals, whether they're health or whatever
Right.
goals you may have. So, and I
Mhm.
want to remind you that there's a
Mhm.
PDF that comes with Sandy's video information here that
Mhm.
has this transcription on it. It has all of her contact information, how you can reach her, and what kind of offers or gifts that she may be able to offer to you. So be
Mhm.
sure and check the PDF so you can get a hold of Sandy there.
Sounds good.
So I think that brings us down to really our last question that I'd like to ask all our experts. And this is the big one. This is the key right here. And I'm
Mhm.
always trying to find new ways to do this is that what ideas do you have to actually get people to actually follow your recommendations? Because, I like
Mhm.
to say that, knowledge without action is useless. So what ideas do you have that can maybe get people really motivated to start to follow some of your recommendations?
Well, I think for me, it's somebody that's committed to be accountable. So when you're ready, right? You're ready to do the work to feel better. When people start feeling better, they keep moving in that direction, right? So that's where that accountability comes from and working with somebody. It really does make a difference. So I think really to motivate is to figure out what is your top pain point. Like what is your top concern that you're looking to get some relief from? Or it could be lose weight, it could be get rid of headaches, all of that. And then really creating some wellness goals, right? And working with somebody for those goals because it makes such a difference. I mean, for me, it was working through layers. I mean, when I got into this a while ago, but I will say I put my autoimmune Sjogren's in remission. It's been in remission for over a decade. Migraines, had those all my life. Those are gone. So when you know that there's going to be an end result that's positive, that's that goal. That's the bullseye you stay focused on. But bottom line is to be committed. Absolutely be committed. You have to want to heal because practitioners can't do it for you. You do the work, but then you have wisdom and guidance and tools and support around you that makes all the difference in the world.
So well said,
Um,
Sandy. Thank you so much.
mhm,
That was so good, such great information. So I think again the key right here is that you can do it. You can take responsibility for your health. You can greatly improve your overall health and well-being.
mhm,
That's
mhm,
the whole concept for this project that we're doing to help you to take
yeah,
responsibility and to really improve your overall health and well-being so you can live a much more energetic and productive and life where you're living your purpose and going out and make a bigger difference in the world. So that's what we're
absolutely.
all about. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you again, Sandy. That was really
Thank you,
great.
Rico.
And thank you all for being here.
Yeah.